The following interview was broadcast live on IsraelNationalRadio.com.
With us on the phone, we have Shlomo Taub. I don't suppose you're related to our previous guest, but you are going to talk about issues related to the Holocaust as well. Shlomo, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And you run a group called Polish Legacy, Retrieval of Jewish Property from Poland.
Yes. I'm heading an organization. The name of the organization is Legacy, and we are situated in Poland and the Czech Republic and Slovakia and in Romania, and what we do is trying to do the best in order to claim property, to retrieve it, and to make heirs as owners. Those people that lost their property 63, 65, and 70 years ago and do not know even that something may be done because they didn't do nothing about it, and we're talking about a huge volume of dollar value, we are doing it for them in Poland and in the other countries that I mentioned. It is very important to notice that everything has been made in order to discourage Jews to retrieve their properties, to do something. All over the world, in Europe and in Israel. Recently it was about Israel and this company that recently was established by the government in order to retrieve property in Israel for those who invested from Europe money for the future 70 years ago. And we're talking about billions of dollars. I'm not dealing with this. We are dealing with those people who owned in Poland, in the other countries, and know where the properties are situated and are interested to try to see if there is such a possibility to claim. We are claiming. In certain cases, we are winning, and people are getting their properties back, and we're talking about millions of dollars of value of properties.
Well, we're in the virtual studio chat room live, and someone is typing in that their parents are from Poland, and maybe if someone listening right now is from Poland or their parents or grandparents are from Poland, you can call up at 1-800-270-428. That's our toll-free Israeli number. And in the United States and Canada, it's 1-800-270-4288. And in England, it's 00800-3700-7000, or you can just send us an instant message. Maybe you could tell us a success story. There's a Holocaust survivor that actually retrieved their house from 70 years ago? Definitely.
I would start actually from another angle. I'd like to highlight that Legacy started with cases that ended with success in cities like Kraków, Rzeszów, Katowice, which are main cities in Poland. And it all started with claiming and seeing that actually it is possible to reach documentation in the different authorities that are holding those documentation in Poland and in the Czech Republic in the beginning of our operation, which was about 10 years ago. And while we were looking at those documents, we realized actually that those Jewish people that were owners before the war are still considered owners. It was a shocking experience to see that a grandchild is coming to us, which he is today in his 60s, and telling us about his grandfather that owned a property in the middle of Kraków, beautiful residential building of about 140 tenants today living there, and then also about the same number of apartments were owned by this grandfather that ended in Auschwitz. We found the papers, started to claim that we established inheritance procedure in Poland, which a process that took about, I would say, 3-4 years. But in the end of the day, the person, which is our client, he was invited to stand in front of a judge and to prove that he is alive. So that's what the judge wanted.
In Poland.
He had to fly to Kraków. He flew actually for 48 or 72 hours. He didn't want to stay there too long. He knew exactly when to come. He came. We prepared him for the court session, and he, with with the help of translator, he stood respectfully in front of this judge in Krakow, told his story in a very short version, and he showed that he proved, actually, with documentation, that he is a legitimate grandchild. We had the certificate of his father, and from Poland we found the birth certificate and the birth certificate of the grandfather and the birth certificate of the father that died in Israel. So we established a legal process of inheritance procedure in Poland on Polish ground, and this was actually the first case. When ownership was retrieved, it was sold probably, the building was sold about a year after for a huge amount of money. And then we realized that the actually papers exist. And we enlarged the staff in Poland, and we went to more cities in Poland, and we found that the same system was duplicated over there, then in Rzeszów, in Katowice, and it should be very much highlighted that the system in Poland I'm especially speaking about Poland because the larger number of the victims was in Poland. There are basically 5 steps how the Polish people eliminated the Jews from property ownership, and this is what we are fighting. First, property was evacuated. It was empty. So today we still find empty apartments, which is okay. If they are empty, that means nobody laid his hand on it. Second, it was possessed by new local tenants. And not always those new local tenants were smart enough to claim ownership. And we attack those cases. So the percentage may not be very high, but also 10% or 20% of the value of property that we deal with in Poland may mean a lot for those people who become owners.
Are these Polish people angry, or are they? What do they feel like?
This is not our business if they are angry or not. It's not even on the table. They may be angry because when I come to, for example, to my property in Poland, which is in Krakow, so I come as an owner. I come as a
landlord.
As a landlord, and they look at me with respect. These guys didn't have a landlord for 70 years. Almost 60, 70 years, they didn't have to whom to talk. So today they know there is this Jew that lives in Israel or in New York, and he owns our building. If there's something going wrong, that's fine, I can call him. and it's okay. It's a symbol of ownership in Poland. It's probably all over the world the same. But if the fact that they can call you as an owner already give you the power to sell. But let me just finish. The steps that we were eliminated for ownership. So if the first one was evacuating and the second was possessing by locals, then the third step comes, Treasury becomes an owner. When there is nobody an owner, so Treasury in Poland and in Romania and in Czech Republic may see themselves as legitimate owner, and that's the problem. When this happens, Treasury, which does not have what to do, basically, with those properties, may sell. He is suddenly laying his hand on $1 billion assets, and he sells it at $1 billion back from the buyer. And then, we have the problem of claiming, because there were more, the number of owners starting to be registered in land and mortgage becomes a little bit too heavy to tackle. It's too many court cases, and it's also expensive on the process, and it's better to start with the process as early as possible. That's why we are trying in all our might to highlight the importance. Anybody that knows about a property, anybody that can show that he is a legitimate, possibly a rightful owner, should raise his hand, should do something about it, because time doesn't play to our favor.
Now, I think in Israel and some other countries, and you live in Israel, so correct me if I'm wrong, the the person living in the apartment at that particular time has a big say in who owns it. For example, if the owner passes away and I live in the apartment, then I get a say.
Yes. The strange thing in Poland, and the same in other East European countries, is that in certain places there were put in laws establish a law that after 10 years, if someone sits in your apartment for 10 years and is paying dues to the government, he is paying all his taxes, or collecting rent. A stranger that will collect rent, he will prove, even if it is not his. That's a funny thing. Even if it is not his, he collects rents. 10 years, nobody said nothing, he may be claimed as an owner. So, there are so many cases of 20 years and 30 years that nobody said nothing, and nobody raised a hand saying, hey, this is ours, what are you doing there? So those people may have a say as an owner. Same thing happened also in Israel.
Now, I guess this is personal for you because you were actually born in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
Any story about that, or how I guess you won the court case and you personally got your property back.
Yeah.
When did you come to Israel?
I was born in Poland after the war. My parents are Holocaust survivors. Unfortunately, they are not with us anymore. And after the war, after the war, they came back to Krakow. We are all from Krakow, and they decided to establish against all the odds. They decided to establish their new life in 1945 back at their homes, and they came back to town and started from scratch. My father lost a family with 4 children, with a wife, and my mother wasn't married yet then, and they started all from the beginning. And my father, before the war, he owned buildings in Krakow, and he came back to those buildings in 1945 with his concentration camp clothing, and the people over there were very surprised to see somebody alive coming back, but he continued to act as an owner because he played as a businessman. He was a businessman, and he started a business, completely a different business, not a real estate business, and he collected rent between 1945 to 1951 when we left Poland, and from 1951 until 1999, nobody stepped on Polish soil from our family. I started in 1997 the process of claiming because I had addresses and I knew exactly where the property is. And by us, actually, the story was a little bit different, that in 1985, 1987, when my mother was still alive, we are getting a letter from some Polish administration that was managing our property that we owe them 12,000 zloty for fixing a building, one of the buildings that my mother didn't even know that it also belonged to us because they changed the name of the street. So luckily I was holding this letter until I started my claims about 10 years later. And when I came to court, so it was enough for court to consider that we are owners because we were asked to pay for some renovation of a house that we didn't even know about it.
Maybe some people don't want to become owners at that particular moment.
Yeah, definitely. But what I did basically is when we got this, since I talk the language, I speak Polish very well, so I send a letter to the same organization that I'll be very happy to compensate them for all the costs. But first I would like to see all the list of the income for the last 40, 45 years of the rent, and then we'll deduct whatever we owe them from this big sum. So they fixed the buildings by themselves, and I didn't hear from them nothing until we moved the ownership to our family. And basically it may be a problem. If somebody gets such a letter, he may have to fix, and then it's a big expense. But that's not the problem. That's not basically what we are concerned on. We are concerning our business in making potential owner to actual owner after we go through all the procedures that we've discussed now.
We're talking to Shlomo Taub. Your website is polishlegacy.org, polishlegacy.org, retrieval of property in Poland. Now, you work with a Polish lawyer. Is this guy Jewish?
All our staff is non-Jewish.
Uh-huh.
In Poland and in the Czech Republic and in Romania, it's non-Jews. The lawyers that we work on a partnership basis, and our partners over there are local, nothing to do with Jewish heritage. They are pure business.
Mm-hmm.
They get compensated upon success, and they are being instructed exactly what to do, and we formulate our activities in such a way that first we must analyze what is the legal status of the property and provide our clients with a report. Only by having this report with a legal opinion, we will be able to verify if there is a cause or if there is a reason to continue to a phase B of our operation, which is inheritance procedure. While if you do inheritance procedure, so there's like 80-85% that the claimant will become, in the end of the day, also an owner. That's what we are aiming. So the lawyers that are working for us are local, as I said, and they know exactly what are the milestones that are entitled to go through, and they are familiar very well with all the procedures and the homes that have to be tackled in Poland, like the city, the treasury offices, all the land and mortgage offices, and they know exactly what has to be done, and it was learned from experience. We learn from case to case, and luckily there's no one case that is similar to the other case. Allow me to share with you one interesting, one of the most interesting cases that we tackled a few years ago.
Okay.
Was in a city name near Mogilno. Mogilno is not far away from Poznan, if somebody is familiar with the Polish map. We came to this building that was claimed by a family, and the name of the owner was still written on the building. On the top of the building is still there. Actually, I was there a few months ago, and the name is still there. And when we claimed it, there was no problem. Within 1 year, we established his wife of the man that was the owner then to become, she is now in her 90s, to become an heir, a legally, she became his wife, a heir. And after she was entitled to re-own this property, so judge decided that he wants to go back a little bit. This is a funny story because judge, if the guy name was Max, M-A-X, so somehow he found that in some birth certificate it was written M-A-C-H, or with some other letter combination. And we decided to start the inheritance proceeding all again, and that's what we are doing now. After having to prove him that there is, according to, if you write in Hebrew, so Max can be written in different letters, but it still will be the same Max. So we had to bring an approval from some Israeli lawyer and from an American lawyer because of the combination, dual citizenship of this family. But in the end of the day, we hope that it's going to be within the next 2-3 months. The family, the 93, 94 years old lady, she's going to own a property which is worth a few $100,000. So she doesn't want to sell it, absolutely. She wants to donate it to the miserable people of town, as she claimed. It's a poor town, so she wants to give it to, it's a large area, she wants to donate it.
Where does this lady live?
Say it again?
Where does this particular lady live?
It's not far away from Poznan.
Oh, she lives in Poland?
She lives in Israel. I'm sorry.
Okay.
She lives in Israel.
And the house is in Poland?
The house is in Poland, yeah. And as I said, when she came to us, it was clearly a very straightforward case because the name is still written there and registration was okay. I mean, in Poland, the owner is still registered today as an owner. So what do you need more? we come in, me and the lawyer, my partner, and obviously all the tenants are coming out like mice from the building and asking us what are our intentions about the property. So we told them that we may want them to keep living there, but they will have to buy, each one will have to buy his piece, and this is one option. Another option is to sell it to the city, which was very generous on the price that she offered. But then Judge came with this invention that max is not equal to max, was M-A-C-S. So now we started again, and we do hope that it's towards the end of the procedure.
Wow.
We go along a very thin line. We deal with people that are very old, and sometimes it's the second generation and third generation, that all what they strive to is to bring justice to the family. The people that we deal in this specific case are the second and third generation of those owners. And all what they want is that the old lady, which he's the owner, they want to see her alive, getting this ownership note from a Polish court.
Yeah.
And the court obviously is doing everything that is in their capability to disturb, and that's what we are for. We try to oversmart it if we can. In certain cases, we can. In certain cases, we cannot. But if you're talking about only Poland, according to the first global report of restitution of Jewish properties that was issued by the State of Israel in 2005 by Natan Sharansky, only Poland possesses about $40 billion value of property, which was Jewish.
Wow.
So if we're talking about 10% giving back, we're talking about $4 billion, which is a big number. And many Nitzolei Shoah, as we say it in Hebrew, many Holocaust survivors, their lifestyle, their welfare may change dramatically by re-owning and selling. Nobody wants to go back to Poland. We don't suspect nobody that if he will win his case in a Polish court or in a Czech court that he's going to go back. That's not the point.
Well, we got to go. Shlomo Taub from PolishLegacy.org. Thank you very much for being with us. This has been Weekend Edition.
Israel National Radio. Real interviews with real Israelis and real issues. Live and downloadable on www.israelnationalradio.com.